I'm still congested! My voice is not what it should be. Forgive me.
The Bash Pro Active Shifter is kind of like finally getting to sleep with your lifetime crush. It's everything you ever wanted, but then afterwards you realize, since I finally reached the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro, what is there left to achieve? This is the best H-pattern shifter I've ever laid my right hand on repeatedly. Now you might be looking at the shifter and thinking to yourself, that shifter looks a bit different from the first part of this video. And you'd be right. This is a different unit. My first unit did not connect to my PC for whatever reason. I reported it to MVH and they helped me troubleshoot the unit. They determined that I had a faulty unit and they sent me a replacement immediately. I got the replacement in like 3 days. From another country. I was well taken care of and they didn't pull any poor customer service tactics on me. They didn't expect to receive their unit back first before they shipped my replacement out. They made sure I was happy and that I was taken care of first before they even asked for their initial unit back. They also paid for the shipping to get the replacement to me and also reimbursed me for the shipping to get their unit back. I now have full confidence in this company. If anything were to go wrong with this replacement, I feel as though they would make sure things are right regardless of what happens. Now, does this shifter have some quirks? Of course it does. I'm going to go over those right now, as a matter of fact. One, it's expensive. Kind of. Of course, they have a very unique product, so it's understandable they charge more than the average prices for shifters. Still, in this tier of H patterns, it's actually quite reasonable compared to the other big boys, since you get so much more functionality for around the same price, or even less, if you think about it. Another thing, of course, that I don't like about it is I have a pink shift knob. Now, your eyes might see this color differently, but I see it as a pink shift knob. Not all units will come with a pink shift knob, but I wish I could have chosen. I would have preferred black or silver. I don't really care about it at the end of the day, but it is a minor annoyance that I would rather not have on my rig. Color-wise, again, not a huge deal, but visually, it's important to many gearheads to have their gear look the best it can to complement the rest of their rig. It has a super tight USB hole. Could be a good thing if you like it tight. But it does cause some confusion as to whether the cable is actually fully inserted or not. Also, it limits the cables you can use with the device, but as long as you use the cable that comes with the shifter, it is super snug and well supported. It's kind of a plus if you think about it like that. The mounting plate is a bit thin. It's not as thin as thin sliced ham, but it is pretty thin. I was forced to use washers since my screws bottomed out. Mounting the plate to the bottom of the shifter itself is weird. We shouldn't need a spacer ring. It's a little 3D printed plastic ring. Along the same lines of that last con, the holes that were drilled, a bit crude. And it makes it to where the plastic spacer is required. Otherwise, the tapered screws bottom out and don't allow them to snug up. What I mean by that is if you take the spacer off and just screw the screws into the bottom plate, there would be a little wiggle room between the bottom mounting plate and the actual housing itself. So either don't drill out the bottom mounting plate as aggressively or make the mounting plate thicker, please. That's what I would like. Now the pros. Let's get to the goodness of this shifter. Goodness gracious, great balls of shifters. It's plug and play. No software is required for it to feel good. It's compatible with every racing game that allows you to map individual gears. It will, however, require software to lock you out of the gears in between shifts in synchro mesh mode. The shift knob can be switched out as long as you get the appropriate threaded knob. You can switch shifting methods, transmission types on the fly with buttons on this unit. 3 modes in total: sequential, synchro mesh, and dog box. You can tune the shifter to each individual car if you want, including how much delay each gear has. It's a very small footprint for what it offers, smaller than Fanatic and way easier to mount overall than many shifters. It's very realistic feeling. You can really feel the gears you are shifting into. You feel that mechanical goodness. Bit of a workout, actually, depending on which mode you're using. Now that we've gone over the pros and cons and pros, Some things to consider when mounting. Make sure you have enough clearance on your rig, as both sides have a protrusion. The left side has electronics housed in a 3D printed box, and the right side has a nut on it. You can choose which orientation works best for you, and if the LCD panel on your shifter is upside down, you can switch that in the software. Something else to note is it's recommended by the maker to not change the leverage on the shift rod. So they're not recommending you lengthen the rod, as it might overpower the servo motor that is responsible for locking you out of those gears. The SimHub software that's used to interpret the game's telemetry is free, but it does cost money if you want extra fidelity. You don't need it, but if you want the most accurate experience, expect to pay another fee for the third-party software. When I say extra fidelity, I mean instead of updating the signal 10 times per second, it'll update 60 times per second with the full version. I'm typically a snob when it comes to this kind of thing, but I didn't notice that it's not updating as quick as it could be. Seems perfectly fine to me at 10 times per second. That's still a lot per second. Like count 1, 2, right? It's updating the signal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times in that 1 second. Come on, that's good. You also have access to 6 in reverse through a clever movement of the shifter. If you move the stick all the way to the left and then immediately all the way to the right and down, you have another gear you can map. So you can choose between 5 in reverse and 6 in reverse. It's not something I'm going to be doing, but it is nice to have the extra functionality. You can also tune how long of a delay there is for every gear on the shifter. You can really make the shifter feel like any car. The side-to-side resistance is very satisfying, and the entire motion, forward, rearward, side-to-side, has zero play. It feels precise and solid. Pushing past the gate doesn't feel unnatural either. It's really an authentic sensation to push right up to the point where the shifter has to let you in, hear those air quotes, and slowly push past it. It's not simply judging your physical or visual distance to the gate and then opening it. You have to apply a certain amount of pressure before you can push past it. It really feels authentic. I'm going to say that again. It feels authentic. Now, of course, you can custom tune it to let you into each gear immediately if you're at the correct RPMs, but even without that custom tuning, this shifter will feel better than anything else you've probably felt, including your real car. Now, the shifter will expose all of your flaws as a driver. I didn't realize, but I was creating horrible habits with other shifters that don't physically lock me out. You really need to time your clutch work perfectly and treat the game as if it's a real car, especially if you do heel toe and rev matching. If you're serious about actually practicing driving in your sim and you're using an H pattern in your real car, there is no other shifter you should buy. There are many other excellent H patterns in the market. BDH, ProSim, SimVertex, etc. Those are great, and I've even owned a SimVertex and a BDH and love them. But there is nothing that compares to this MVH Bash Pro shifter currently. The ease of switching your transmission types, the tiny footprint, the feel, absolutely unbeatable at this moment. Now, the sequential mode is definitely a welcome addition, but it's not really anything more than simply locking you out of all the gears and just keeping track of the position of the stick. There is no actual sensation of shifting like a good dedicated sequential would provide. There is also no side-to-side locking function of the unit, and the travel is very short overall. But again, if you have limited space or only want one shifter for everything, this is a great solution. What I will say, if you're planning to mostly shift in sequential mode, this is not your shifter. This is for someone that wants a no-compromise H-pattern shifter experience. In closing, this is currently the best H-pattern sim racing shifter money can buy. This technology really needs to make its way into more shifters. I hope this becomes a standard feature and the price will come down enough for the majority to be able to experience this incredible sensation. Have a good day. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.